Your Excellencies, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Digital Economy and Society, and Secretary General of the National Board of Digital Economy and Society, and distinguished guests and participants, Swadika, thank you for the invitation to speak today. My name is Mahesh Uttamchandani, and I am newly appointed as the Regional Director for East Asia and Pacific and South Asia in the World Bank's Digital Transformation Vice Presidency. And I'm honored to join you today at this pivotal moment in Thailand's digital transformation journey. I should say that the World Bank has recently launched its digital vice presidency in recognition of the importance of digital economy to the countries that we serve and work with, and the increasing requests we are asked to fulfill in helping countries achieve their digital transformation aspirations. What I would like to talk to you about today is the importance of digital transformation for global economies, particularly focusing on this region, East Asia and the Pacific. However, due to the widening digital divide across countries, there is an urgency to bridge the gap with efficient public investment and policy reforms. To bridge the gap, I will introduce you to the recent World Bank report for the EAP region, and then introduce the recently produced report for Thailand specifically on the digital data infrastructure roadmap for 2025 to 2029, which provides strategic recommendations. And finally, I will outline the World Bank's role in supporting countries' digital transformation journey and our own commitment to supporting Thailand in its digital journey. Now, digital transformation really is the revolutionary opportunity of our time. This critical area supports development across sectors in health, education, energy, and agriculture, and all of these services run on connectivity and data. The infrastructure and platforms that underpin these connections must be available, affordable, and safe for countries to flourish. In the East Asia and Pacific region, with its vast potential, it stands at a critical juncture where a significant push is required to propel growth of the digital economy. Despite having a solid foundation of broadband connectivity with 72% of the population online and strong 4G coverage, the region faces challenges that need to be addressed to fully harness its digital potential. National digital strategies are prioritizing digital transformation to improve service delivery and foster job growth. The region is also attracting billions of dollars in private investments in the hyperscale, cloud, and data center industries, positioning itself as an emerging hub for AI. Additionally, the rapidly growing digital economy, particularly in the 600 million people strong regional digital market of ASEAN, holds tremendous potential. To convert this ambition into action, a well-rounded approach is necessary, including creating a strong regulatory environment, strengthening digital infrastructure, and fostering inclusive and safe digital ecosystems. Unfortunately, the digital divide is widening across countries. While digital adoption is accelerating, the digital divide continues to widen, exacerbating poverty and productivity divide. There remains a multi-dimensional digital divide across countries, businesses, and households, which is compounding the development divide. Hospitals, schools, governments, and businesses cannot operate effectively and efficiently without core digital tools. And the digital divide is holding back growth and limiting opportunities for the many millions who are still unconnected, and for those who are connected but are not able to harness the full potentials of these technologies. Closely measuring progress, especially in low and middle income countries, will help narrow the digital divide by steering policymakers and the private sector towards areas in need of critical attention and effective solutions. Globally, about 1/3 of the population, or about 2.6 billion people, remained offline in 2024, while more than 90% of people in high-income countries were able to use the internet. Only 1 in 4 in low-income countries were able to use it. 850 million people lack any form of identification, whether digital or analog. And we believe the global community needs to do more to help emerging markets catch up, accelerate digital adoption, and ensure that everyone can reap the benefits. Now, internet use is speeding up in middle-income countries, but we find that in low-income countries, usage and speed are falling further behind. Artificial intelligence and the data revolution are accelerating digital capabilities for many, but accentuating the divide as poor countries fall further behind due to a lack of data processing and computing power. Without access to the internet and the skills to use digital technologies effectively, billions are effectively locked out of the modern world. In East Asia Pacific specifically, the digital divide is also widening due to several critical factors. There is a significant disparity in broadband connectivity, access, and usage between urban and rural areas. Many rural and underserved populations face challenges in accessing reliable and affordable internet services. High fixed broadband costs and expensive devices contribute to the lack of mobile ownership in some countries and exacerbate this usage gap that we observe. This persistent urban-rural divide highlights the need for substantial public investment to bridge the gap and ensure equitable access to digital services. The affordability of digital services and broadband remains a significant barrier to inclusion in this region. The affordability issue is particularly pronounced in countries in Thailand's region, but also elsewhere throughout East Asia Pacific, where a substantial portion of the population cannot afford digital devices. To reduce this divide, it's essential to implement measures that lower the cost of digital devices and broadband services, making them more accessible to a broader segment of the population. At the same time, fulfilling the promise of digital requires balancing risks and opportunities. As more and more services become digitized, safeguards are crucial to promote trust. Data protection, cybersecurity laws, and strong institutions must be in place to develop and enable interconnected digital systems that can verify identities, quickly and safely transfer payments, and responsibly exchange data. The recent World Bank report on Services Unbound in 2024 revealed that a combination of digital technology adoption and policy reform is transforming services into the most dynamic part of many economies in the East Asia Pacific region, which is a region associated with strong manufacturing-led growth, but services are becoming increasingly important. The report introduces a framework for services-led development, where technological and policy changes within services are leading to structural change across and within sectors, resulting in higher productivity and increased demand for sophisticated skills. The use of new digital technologies and reforms in education and health services could help address the skills deficit and inequality of access to quality education across the region or to quality health, equipping more citizens in East Asia and the Pacific to engage productively in the new digital economy. The report emphasizes that countries must pursue both liberalization and regulation. Despite past reforms, many countries still have relatively restrictive regimes for services. Governments need to work with the private sector in building the infrastructure and skills needed to take advantage of emerging opportunities. Unilateral domestic reforms must be complemented with cooperative international action to address services market failures that have a transborder dimension. In Thailand, our recent collaboration with the ETDA reveals several important policy implications for Thailand's digital transformation. The Digital Data Infrastructure Roadmap, or DDIR, for 2025 to 2029 aims to provide strategic recommendations to enhance Thailand's digital transformation through improved data infrastructure and systems, incorporating international best practices for data governance. The topics for each chapter on data infrastructure, regulation, institutional arrangement, and their usage by government, the private sector, and individuals were jointly decided by the Electronic Transactions Development Agency and the World Bank, based on practical needs and reflecting discussions amongst related agencies. To reach Thailand's aspiration of achieving upper middle income status by 2027, diversifying its economy into the digital sector and taking advantage of digital transformation in traditional sectors is essential. However, the country is yet to fully harness the potential of digital transformation for economic growth, social equity, and innovation. Data infrastructure is foundational to achieving Thailand's digital ambitions. The World Bank's World Development Report in 2021, titled Data for Better Lives, highlights that data is a powerful tool for development, holding enormous value. Data infrastructure and an integrated national data system make the storage, processing, and accessibility of data possible to realize this value. Such data infrastructure and systems should be built on both hard and soft infrastructure, regulations, institutions, and human capital. Currently, while vast quantities of data are generated daily in Thailand from the government, individuals, and private sectors, the data are not necessarily being harnessed and used as effectively as they could be for Thailand's digital transformation. One example of this is the relatively little amount of data flow and sharing within and across government and private sectors, limiting the scale of data available for utilization and analysis. This in turn makes it difficult to adopt newer technologies like AI more broadly. The recently approved Personal Data Protection Act intends to address these issues. We must be mindful to ensure, however, that regulation does not impose additional compliance burdens on data sharing. It is also important for governments around the region to ensure that fragmentation of the regulatory environment or the institutional environment does not provide excess complication to the sharing and usage of data. We've also been able to make several findings and key recommendations from our work together with Thailand on this topic. Thailand has the ability to benefit more from digitalization compared to its regional peers. The ICT sector in Thailand currently contributes 3.4% of GDP, and about 5% of adults possess intermediate digital skills. But across the ASEAN region, these numbers can be higher, and there is room certainly to grow. The PDPA, when we look at data regulations, the landscape for data regulations, the PDPA aims to strengthen data privacy, but may be misunderstood at times by the private sector and could be perceived as a barrier to efficient data sharing. It would be worthwhile to approach a policy shift from a consumer-centric privacy set of protections to a more organizationally accountable model. Fragmentation in governance and data sharing barriers could also be key challenges. Establishing an independent national data governance authority could improve the overall coordination of data regulations and their implementation. It's also important to continue to expand fixed broadband coverage and provide incentives for MSMEs to adopt AI and cloud computing and develop localized AI models that can improve adoption in non-English speaking capabilities and markets. MSMEs sometimes struggle to leverage data for growth due to limited digital adoption and regulatory constraints. Targeted training for the private sector, expanded access to government open data sets, and public-private partnerships are essential. The data and analytics strategy for the social protection sector suggests that Thailand has established strong policy and institutional foundations to advance its social protection system through digital transformation. Strengthening data governance and refining data policies will lay the foundation for interoperability and the creation of a federated social registry. The World Bank stands committed to supporting Thailand's digital transformation. The bank will readily collaborate with Thailand and support Thailand's rapid digital transformation. In addition to the above-mentioned collaboration in the areas of data infrastructure and regulations, the World Bank can collaborate with the diverse agencies and ministries in Thailand. And we are leading digital transformation with governments around the world to build foundations for digital transformation, including the transition to digital economies, governments, and societies. Our work in this new vice presidency of the World Bank focuses on key pillars, including access to fast, reliable, safe, and affordable internet. Across the World Bank, we seek to stimulate demand for digital applications, digital skills, and digital platforms to support governments, businesses, and individuals to participate more fully in the digital economy. Reaping the benefits of digitalization will require efforts on behalf of all countries and organizations working within these countries. It's important to close the digital divide because even as new technologies spread rapidly around the world, we know that billions still have never used the internet. It's important to prepare for the jobs of tomorrow because innovation is radically changing the nature of work. New jobs are emerging, others are evolving. And to compete in the digital economy, countries will need to prioritize education and build the digital skills of their workforce while creating efficient safety nets to support those transitions. It will also be critical to develop secure and reliable digital systems. As the world goes online more and more, particularly for services, strengthening capacity in areas like cybersecurity and personal data protection has become more important than ever. And finally, there needs to be more financing to bring everybody online. Achieving universal access to broadband around the world will require, by some estimates, $400 billion by 2030. And neither the public nor the private sector can do this alone. Governments need to make bold reforms, and the private sector can reduce costs, risks, and increase efficiency and innovation. Thailand stands at a pivotal moment in its digital transformation journey. So much has been accomplished. Addressing existing regulatory infrastructure and institutional challenges that remain will continue to further unlock new economic opportunities and enhance public service efficiency. The World Bank is committed to supporting this journey with Thailand to achieve its digital ambitions, and by fostering an inclusive and safe digital ecosystem, investing in digital infrastructure, and promoting literacy, we can work together to ensure that everyone reaps the benefit of digitalization, bridge the digital divide, drive economic growth, and create a more equitable and connected digital society. Thank you for inviting me to join you today, and I wish you a wonderful and excellent day of deliberations.
ขอเสียงปรบมือด้วยนะคะ Thank you very much, Mr. Mahesh. I have a couple of questions for you, listening to you. Even though Thailand still have a lot of challenges to overcome in terms of digital divide and regulatory reforms in terms of digital transformation, what are the opportunities for Thailand in the future if we can overcome all of these obstacles?
First of all, I think it's important to recognize that Thailand has made incredible and significant strides already in its digital transformation journey. So if we look forward as to where to continue to evolve in this journey, I think equipping the population for the jobs of tomorrow and harnessing the vast quantities of data for effective use in some of the emerging technologies like generative AI, particularly in the Thai language, could be powerful catalysts to propelling the economy forward even further.
Now for AI, I think that's the next big wave, and I think every country is thinking about how to embrace it and take advantage of it. What should be Thailand's position or policies on this?
Well, I think it's important first to recognize that AI in its early forms has been with us for some time. What we often used to call machine learning has been a technology that many countries, Thailand included, have been using for many years. What's new about generative AI and what really truly makes it a potentially transformational technology is its ability to continuously process vast quantities of data and learn from that data. Now, that requires a physical infrastructure to share that data, process it, and compute it close to source. And I think if that can be achieved, then there's no limit to what Thailand can do with AI. What we see in other countries where they are falling behind in the AI divide is the inability to invest in the physical infrastructure required to harness and use this data.
You're talking about infrastructure. What about the human resources of a country to prepare for AI? What should Thailand do about this?
Absolutely. Closing the skills gap, I think, is critical on many fronts. There's closing the skills gap to expand digital industry and create the jobs of tomorrow. And I think I talked about that briefly, but that, of course, is going to be a critical part of any country's journey, including Thailand. but there's also closing the skills gap at the consumer level or at the individual user level to be aware that, of course, as we go more and more online, frauds and scams become more and more prevalent. And for the individual user to both be successful online, but also to maintain the trust in some of the core digital services like payments, like banking, where one fraud incident can immediately propel someone to get offline. And we have lots of studies to show that new users who experience some kind of fraud or theft using a financial service are more likely to retreat further offline and retreat from the digital economy. So equipping users and consumers with the knowledge to safely transact online, while of course also enacting smart policies to ensure regulation and consumer protection, will be critical.
Let's look at the big picture here a bit for the ASEAN region, Mr. Mahesh. You gave a very positive view about Thailand and its readiness and its prime position to benefit from the digital transformation. What about other countries in the region? Where is Thailand compared to other countries?
So I think there are some metrics, for example, the size of the ICT sector, where in Thailand it contributes 3.4% of GDP, whereas we see higher percentages in most ASEAN peers. And we see in Thailand that about 5% of adults possess what you could classify as intermediate digital skills, where again we see higher numbers in regional peers in ASEAN. So I think there is room for Thailand to catch up to some of its ASEAN peers. I also would like to commend the overall ASEAN initiatives to which Thailand has been a core partner in establishing digital objectives and a greater cross-border level of harmonization in digital. And I think that will be important to continue to pursue, especially around cross-border data flows and areas like digital identification and verification of documents. As ASEAN continues to further integrate in the digital space, this will also bring enhanced benefits to all of its members.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahesh, for your time today. ขอเสียงปรบมืออีกสักครั้งนะคะให้คุณ Mahesh ด้วยค่ะ Thank you ขอบคุณค่ะ
Thank you.
Thank you คุณ Mahesh นะคะจาก World Bank นะคะ